Independent Women's Forum senior policy analyst Patrice Lee and Wuka. Patrice Lee, what do you make of what he is saying? No, they get this trade thing resolved. They cancel this plan to move overseas.
I mean, I think that's optimistically the best course of action. Whether that's really going to happen this year, that's another case. I mean, I think Harley-Davidson, because it represents America and has been such a great example, of made in America, the fact that they're willing to move overseas because of, these trade deals or really the tariffs that have been placed, I think it's very symbolic. So, I would ideally like to see tariffs removed as a free marketeer, but I also recognize the administration is using these as a tool to get better deals and hopefully really level the playing field, as the governor was talking about.
Brad, though, do you ever get a sense that the governor was too kind here, but that there might be something to what the president was saying, that the company's been a little wormy on this, that maybe they're using this as an excuse to say, oh, no, we're if we didn't have this impasse on trade, we wouldn't even be thinking of this. Maybe they had this, cooked up for a long, long time.
Well, that's what press reports suggest, that this is something that Harley has been considering for a long time, keeping the engine.
So the governor could be getting snookered here.
He could be, or he could just be playing very nice in election season to a valuable employer in his state. Look, Harley, we can't have a president who panders to one company. The president is looking globally in America. What is good for American interests in the macro sense? We're not picking off companies. And if Harley's going to do what they do, they're going to do it anyway, regardless of what the president's actions are, because history tells us that they're going to do what's ever in the best interest of their company. Now, having said that, I think that Americans, we need to stand behind the president, because for the first time in a long time, we have a president who's willing to put America first. We have a strong economy. We need to use all the leverage we have against friends and foes who have been taking advantage of us for decades.
All right, so I guess we're unconfused, Patrice, and we're all Americans at our core here, but stand behind the president specifically on what? And it's one thing to say to the Chinese, we want you to play fair and all that, but there have been no measurable metrics that I've seen come out of the White House what exactly they want out of the Chinese. Obviously, they want to, have the Chinese buy more goods from us, and I'm sure that it's going to be spelled out. But what do you think it will take? Let's go back to the Chinese here. To close a deal, when those representatives come to the United States next week, to have a deal? Would it be like South Korea, where, they got something that was a little watered down, something that brought prices of, washing machines and that sort of thing a little bit more in line, but it wasn't huge, but it was a victory. It was deemed a victory. Is it something like that? What?
I think it's going to be something like that. I actually don't have very high expectations for what happens next week. I think you may see some negotiations, because it's a lower level of negotiations between the officials of the United States and China, and they're going to be talking about how do we set the groundwork for higher level officials coming together, and where can we find some agreement on some other industries that have not come under either tariffs from both countries. So we may see that, but I think honestly, the Chinese president, he wants a win on this. He needs it politically and he needs it economically, because people in China, from academics to regular Chinese people, are beginning to question whether protectionism is really the right course of action in that country.
Brad, you could argue that every strong economic number that comes out, every strong earnings report that comes out reinforces the president's resolve. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. Leverage is the key to making good deals. And regardless of leverage, a deal is only as good as it is for both parties anyway. She needs a deal. Trump needs a deal. Trump is more transactional than ideological. And I think if there's a deal to be made, she would be passing up an opportunity not to do with Trump. Now, having said that, the Chinese leader is a leader for life. He sees Donald Trump as merely passing ship. And Donald Trump has to hold the Chinese to deliverables in time, because as the Chinese fully are aware, after the midterms, we're back in the presidential election cycle. And there's nothing they would like better than to get rid of Trump and return to the good old days of a Democratic Obama-type administration where they can run the tables. Donald Trump has to get deliverables out of them within the next year if he's going to get anything at all.
Well, he might be a leader for life, but that isn't guaranteed for life if everything goes kablooey with the economy.
True.
So you never know.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I want to thank you both. Have a great weekend. Always good chatting.
You too.